Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Bundesliga show brought to you by Over the Bar. We're here back on Thursday night for another preview show. So we're looking ahead to match day. What are we on to now? Match day 13. So hopefully not unlucky for my boys Stuttgart, who will be playing on the Friday night. We've got Rune back with us again. So welcome back, Rune. Obviously, lots of fancy football to go through this evening as well. So hope everyone's well. Hope everyone is ready for a good show. Obviously, if you do like the show, please do like, comment, and subscribe on the show. Obviously, give the red button a click, and then you won't miss anything. If you click on the bell icon, you won't miss any show. You'll get notifications straight through to your phone or other handheld device. And of course, we are in partnership with Bully News, which is obviously Rune's kind of child, so to speak. So Rune is editor-in-chief of Bully News, a brilliant English speaking or English language website that brings you information for the Bundesliga and has lots of brilliant fantasy football hints and tips that you can keep an eye out and read it just in case you missed this show. So enough of the intro. Let's get straight into our predictions. It's been a while since me and Mark actually updated our scores. We haven't actually had enough time to do it this week either, unfortunately. But last time we checked 2 weeks ago, it was 5-5.
We're about level, I think.
We're about level, but we'll make sure for next Thursday we get the scores completely updated so we know where we are in terms of how me and Mark are doing in our face-off, as we always do. Let's move on to our predictions for match day 13. As I said, we start off on Friday night football as always, and it's my boys hosting Mainz. So pretty big game for particularly Stuttgart, who I've seen a lot of other teams start to pick up points and has as a result put them in real peril right now. So at home, it looks like they've got a few more players back, Stuttgart, and particularly I was encouraged by the way they played against Dortmund in a quite unlucky loss, I would say. So I'm going to say and hope for a 2-1 home win. So Mark, over to you. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think this one's a hard one, to be honest, because I think obviously Stuttgart, I agree with you, Rory, that they did put in a much, much better performance and were probably a little bit unlucky really to lose at Dortmund last week. But at the same time, I do think Mainz is still a better team this season, and I mean, they just keep on picking up points. I didn't think they were great last week against Köln, but obviously they still managed to get a point from that game. A few decisions went their way. But yeah, I've actually gone for a 1-1 draw in this one. I just think both sides will be relatively happy with the point because Stuttgart just need to stop that losing run, don't they? And I think Mainz will probably still be relatively happy with the point in this game.
Yeah, very much agreed. Obviously, we've got our live stream comments coming through. So thank you and welcome to the show, Blue Danube guy. We don't know your first name. I've never seen your name that much in our streams before, so welcome along. Saying that Stuttgart will suffer until Kalajdzic comes back. Yeah, very much agree. We've missed him loads. I think he's back in training now, so fingers firmly crossed that will get him back and he'll fire us back up the league. Over to you, Rune. What do you reckon to this game?
Yeah, I've actually backed Mainz to win this 2-1. And yeah, I agree with the comment. Stuttgart really need Kalajdzic back. In general, I think they need a true goal scorer at the moment. But yeah, as you said, Roy, they have some players coming back from injury with Silas and Omar Mamouche and Chris Furyk close to being fully fit. Still, I think Mainz will have enough to win this. They're in fine form, unlike Stuttgart, and I think that front duo with Unisivo and Burkhardt could cause a lot of trouble for the Stuttgart defense.
Yeah, I'm only kind of hoping off the fact that Mainz didn't look as much at it against Köln on Sunday, but both teams have played quite well this season, to be fair. Moving on to Saturday afternoon. So afternoon kickoffs, let's go through them. Wolfsburg, Borussia Dortmund. Wow, this looks like quite an interesting game. Obviously, Wolfsburg's form or momentum has stuttered. Obviously, since the new head coach Kofeld has come in, pretty average performance in Europe as well. Was it last night or Tuesday night? And talking of average performances, Dortmund completely shocked me getting dumped out of the Champions League by Sporting Lisbon. So, it's quite hard to call this one. So, as it's hard to call, I'm just going to sit on the fence and say 1-1. Mark, over to you.
Yeah, I think this is another hard one because, as you say, I'm so underwhelmed by Dortmund at times at the minute. I think aside from Bellingham, there's not really many players that are really playing well at the minute for Dortmund. I mean, we've seen in the league they keep getting wins, but it's it's late goals, in games that they've not really particularly played well in. And yeah, I think obviously traditionally Wolfsburg away would be a really hard game, and usually I probably wouldn't back them to win this one, but I just think Wolfsburg also, as you say, Kofeld seems to have, his kind of honeymoon period seems to be over a little bit now. Obviously, starting with 3 wins, now he's gone 2 games without a win, and the costly defeat in Sevilla. Although obviously it was a tricky game against strong opposition, that one. But I mean, I've actually gone for Dortmund to win 2-1. I can see a late goal again in this one to win it for Dortmund.
Yeah, and Rune, what do you think to this one?
Well, I've gone for Wolfsburg to win 2-1, but yeah, I agree with what you guys said. Both sides were quite disappointing in the Champions League and will look to recover from the disappointing results. But I still think Wolfsburg are in a better state than Dortmund at the moment, based on Dortmund's performance against Sporting and with Rafael Guerreiro likely to miss out again. Then I think they have a huge problem at that left back position if he's not playing. So yeah, I'm backing Wolfsburg to win this narrowly.
Good stuff. Welcome for the first time, IBB Jamming. Hope you enjoy the show, as it's your first time that you've watched it, so welcome along. Next game, so we've got Hertha at home to FC Augsburg. Obviously, the away side will be absolutely bouncing into this one after their famous win against Bavarian rivals Bayern Munich last weekend. So going off that and the struggles that Hertha have suffered again, particularly at home in the Olympiastadion, I'm going to go with what could be a really important win for Augsburg. I'm going to say a 2-1 away win to them. So, Mark, what do you reckon to this one?
Yeah, I definitely think we're starting to see Augsburg really improve now. I think they're starting to put in back-to-back performances that have been good now. I think that's 3 in a row, good performances. And obviously they got 2 wins out of those 3 games, although admittedly both at home. But yeah, I think they're probably just about maybe even the favourites going into this game, really, because Hertha are just, I don't know, there's still something missing from Hertha, after a very meek performance in the Berlin Derby last weekend as well. They just flatter to deceive too often. Although this season they have been a little bit better at home, let's be honest. I think they beat Gladbach a few weeks ago as well. So, but I've gone for a 1-1 draw. But I think obviously with Nicholas Dorsch back in the Augsburg side, they could even nick a win in this one potentially.
Yeah, and Rune, what do you reckon? Augsburg going to back up their impressive run out from last week?
No, I don't think so. I've backed Hertha to win this 1-0 actually. Okay. I think they've been quite hard to predict this season, but I think they're stronger at home, and Augsburg are very poor away from home. They're yet to win a game away from home this season, actually. And yes, they will take confidence from their shock win over Bayern last week, but this would be a very different game, I think. And in addition, they've been hit by a huge injury blow with Oxford ruled out in defense, meaning that young Frederik Winter looks likely to start in the central defense. So. Yeah, I have a feeling that Hertha could win this.
Yeah, I just struggle with what Hertha are trying to achieve right at the moment. Yeah, they don't seem like a team that has much direction. Coming from a Man United fan, that's quite rich.
True, but at the same time, I feel like Augsburg are player for player one of the teams with least quality in the league, and I think Hertha have a lot more quality when they're playing up to like the standards they should be performing at. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Agreed. Right, next game, an afternoon kickoff for the Rhine Derby. So we've got FC Köln hosting Borussia Mönchengladbach. Massive derby. Should be a real good occasion. Again, very tricky to call. Gladbach have obviously shown signs of getting back to okay-ish form. Obviously, Still very hard to predict how they're going to come. And then at home with the crowd behind them and the fact that I think they need a win just to give them another boost, I'm going to back the home side for a 2-1 win. So, Mark, what do you reckon to this?
Yeah, I've also gone for a home win, actually. I just think Cologne have just been, I think they've been better than what the results have been saying recently. You know, I think they deserve to get the win against Mainz. A few decisions went against them. I mean, Mainz should definitely have been down to 10 men in that game for me for the tackle on Modeste, which obviously eventually led to him being injured. It looked like quite a bad injury as well, but I still believe they can cope without Modeste. I mean, obviously he is a good striker, but I mean, he's not. Like, do you know what I mean? They do have other goals, obviously, in the likes of Kainz and the like. But yeah, I think they can just win this one. I think it's probably going to be a slightly bigger game for Köln, obviously being the home side in this one. I just think Gladbach, as Blue Danube guy says as well, Danube guy says, I think, they do struggle against, you say weak, I wouldn't really call Cologne a weak side this season, but obviously they are a side that they'd expect to beat, really. And I think, Cologne might just get the 2-1 win as well.
Right.
Rune, are you going to disagree with us both again this time?
Yes, actually, I think this will be a 2-2 draw. Nice. But yeah, I see what you mean, and I agree with the comment. Gladbach are usually quite disappointing in games that they're actually supposed to be winning, or at least being the favorites in. But I think derbies are always special and unpredictable, and I think both teams are very good going forward, so I could see a lot of goals and plenty of chances. Gladbach are seen as favorites, and rightly so, but I could see Köln getting something out of this game as well.
Very true. Right, moving on swiftly, we've got VfL Bochum hosting Freiburg, who obviously came unstuck last weekend to Frankfurt, and tricky going away to Bochum. Obviously, they'll stay. It will be a close contest. I'm fairly sure Bochum will stay in the game as long as they can do. I think they'll certainly be able to nick a goal, but Freiburg, of course, will want to bounce back and keep up that at the moment, obviously top 4 Champions League form. So I'm going to say a narrow 2-1 away win to Freiburg. Mark, do you think Freiburg can bounce back?
Yeah, I think obviously it's back-to-back defeats now for Freiburg. I mean, that often happens really when a team go on a long unbeaten run, doesn't it? Like, obviously they were very unfortunate really to be narrowly beaten at Bayern, but before the international break. But I thought that was probably the poorest performance of the season really last week against Frankfurt. You know, I mean, they weren't absolutely terrible. They still created chances, but ultimately they were beaten 2-0 at home by the struggling, probably still Frankfurt side really, although they've also put back-to-back wins together. But yeah, I just think Bochum, this game might suit them. You know, they can keep it tight, and I think they will still see this as a winnable game ultimately. Although Freiburg are high flying in third at the minute, I've actually gone for a shock 1-0 win for Bochum because I just think at home, you know, they just don't really concede goals, and they always just seem to manage to nick a win at home. So 1-0.
Real, and Rune, on to you.
I'll say 1-0 to Freiburg. But yeah, Bochum have been quite good at home this season, and I think they're pretty tough to break down. But Freiburg are the better side of the two, and I thought they were quite unlucky to lose to Frankfurt last week actually, with the chances they created after the break in particular. And I thought they did quite well against Bayern too. So they showed their quality in those 2 games, and I'm quite sure Christian Streich will motivate his team to bounce back from that defeat.
Sure. Good stuff. Next game in the afternoon is Greuther Fürth, and they host Hoffenheim. Again, obviously on paper, you'd suggest that Hoffenheim will have enough to beat Fürth fairly comfortably. But you never know what you get with Hoffenheim, do you? They're one of the more unpredictable teams in the league, but I still think they'll have more than enough. So I'm saying 3-1 away win. Mark, do you agree?
Yeah, again, this is a funny one, you know, because I mean, obviously, usually I think we all tip against Fürth pretty much every week, don't we? But I mean, usually I say that when Hoffenheim win the week before, then they're going to lose the week after, you know, because, and I thought they were absolutely brilliant last week against Leipzig, really. They were, and at times this season, they have looked brilliant, you know, especially at home, you know. at home they have put in 3 or 4 really, really good performances, Hoffenheim, but they don't back it up, do they? But I mean, if ever there's a chance to back it up, it's this week at the end of the day, and get back-to-back wins against this third side who are only on 1 point now from 12 games, So I agree with Rory. I think they've just got too much quality going forward. I've gone for a 3-1 win for Hoffenheim.
Indeed. And Rune, over to you. Are you going to make it 3 from 3?
Yeah, me too. 3-1 for Hoffenheim is my bet as well. I fully agree with what you guys said. Hoffenheim have been quite unpredictable, but they really outclassed Leipzig last season, and with what we've seen from Fürth so far this season, it's kind of hard to see them get anything out of this game.
Yeah, it's just the difference of quality, isn't it? As quite correctly stated by Blue, the newbie guy, in the comments. Yeah, they're really struggling, aren't they, Fürth? Right, Saturday evening football brings us Bayern Munich versus Arminia Bielefeld. Slightly question this as the kind of premier game, on a Saturday night football, but maybe that's disrespectful to Bielefeld. Anyway, I can only see it being a home win. I think Bayern obviously will be very annoyed about losing to Augsburg. Obviously managed to get the Champions League business done in the week as well. So I'm going to say a 4-1 home win against Bielefeld.
Yeah, again, I think this is bad timing really for Bielefeld, isn't it? Whenever a team plays Bayern after they lose, they usually get thumped, let's be honest. The last time when they lost to Frankfurt, they came back with a brilliant 5-2 win against usually resolute Union Berlin, didn't they? So, it doesn't look like good timing for Bielefeld, this one, who obviously still only picked up 1 win all season, although they are improving performance-wise, without doubt. Yeah. I think one other point is the fact there will only be 25% capacity in the Allianz Arena as well, which might not really be so good for Bayern, because I think the previous 2 games they were back up to like 100%, so they had a real good atmosphere in there. But as a result of the restrictions, there'll only be 25% in the stadium on Saturday, as far as I know. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that is the case. But I've still gone for a 4-0 win here. I just think the timing isn't good for the away side here, and 4-0 for me.
Yep. Agreed. Rune, what do you think to this one?
Yeah, I'm going for a 4-0 win for Bayern as well. As you said, anything other than a home win here would be a massive surprise, and Bayern will be eager to prove a point after their defeat to Augsburg last week.
Very much agreed. Moving on to Sunday then, 2 games very quickly. Look like good games actually. So Frankfurt, first of all, hosting Union Berlin. Both teams, of course, involved in Europe today. I think we were saying earlier before we started recording, Union were winning. So they'll obviously be pleased with that. I think that they might struggle though. And despite their form in the Bundesliga being very solid, just as impressive as last season, I'm going to go with a narrow 2-1 home win to Frankfurt, and maybe sign of them starting to turn their season around, like we discussed on the Monday night review. So I'm backing Frankfurt 2-1 here. Yeah,
I think obviously the key for this for me is the fact that obviously Union have got only a 3-day turnaround, and they've travelled to Israel, which I think is like a 5 or 6 hour flight from Berlin. They did actually manage. I can confirm they did manage to get the win in that game, which leaves them like with basically a 50-50 shootout against Slavia Prague to go through the group. If they win that one, they will qualify now, as results went. But I think this game might be a step too far. I think Union have been absolutely brilliant this season managing the European games as well. But I just think Frankfurt, with the improved form, might just also get a 2-1 win here.
Good stuff. Rune, what do you think to this one?
I'm actually backing Union Berlin to win this 1-0. Frankfurt are in principle in good form, having won the last 3 games in all competitions before tonight's game, but I'm still not that convinced by them. I still think they're lacking something, and they were quite lucky to beat Freiburg last week after a good start to the game. I think they allowed Freiburg to create way too many chances, and we're kind of fortunate in the end. So at the same time, Union have played quite well on a consistent basis, and I think they've managed the workload of playing in multiple tournaments quite well. So I think they'll get the win.
Good stuff. And the Sunday evening game is RB Leipzig versus Bayer Leverkusen. So that is quite a tasty one. Of course, if Leipzig were to win, they would catch up to Leverkusen in 4th place on 21 points. So lots to play for. Again, ridiculously hard to predict what RB Leipzig are going to produce. Magnificent in Europe in the week when it doesn't really matter, unless they obviously want to stay into the Europa League, I guess. But maybe they're best off just concentrating on the Bundesliga because they're so up and down. Even Derek Ray, friend of the show, picked up on it as well in a few tweets that I saw him saying that they bring new highs and new lows every week. So they're very hard to predict. And so I've gone for an entertaining 2-2 draw. Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, I think, again, there's been a lot of unpredictable teams in the Bundesliga this season, haven't there? And I think these two, I would say both sides are relatively unpredictable. You know, I mean, obviously Leverkusen seem to have turned the corner with 2 wins, obviously including a 3-2 win over Celtic tonight as well, which will kind of boost hope, getting 3 goals, the most they've scored in a good while now, really. So, yeah, there will be hope that Leverkusen can compete and maybe even win this game. But for me, I think Leipzig have got... You know, they do put in a few bad performances, but at home in particular, they tend to be pretty good. So I've gone for a 2-1 home win here.
Brilliant. Whilst we ask you, Rune, for your prediction, maybe you know a bit more about Blue Danube Guy's question regarding Patrick Schick. Maybe you can field that for us because you'll be a man more in the know than ourselves.
Yes, I'm pretty sure Patrick Schick will be back this weekend. He was rested for the Europa League game just to avoid getting him in action too quickly after the injury. So it looks like he should play this weekend. He's back in full training and all that stuff. So yes. With regard to the game, I agree with Mark. I think Leipzig will win this 2-1. I was very impressed with their performance against Brugge in midweek. They really outclassed them quite surprisingly, despite missing a lot of players due to COVID. And Leverkusen, yeah, they won tonight, so maybe they will take some confidence from that. But other than that, I don't think they've quite looked like themselves after that heavy loss to Bayern several weeks ago. But yeah, a tough one to predict. But I feel Leipzig at home will just have an edge. Good
stuff for us. Our predictions done and dusted for this week. We've probably gone over a little bit in terms of time than we usually do on our predictions. So we'll go straight into our fantasy football stuff. And just before we pass over to Rune, let's just look quick update on how we 3 are doing right now. So actually, I'm not sure if I clicked save on this because I am actually in 178th, the highs of 178th. So I've gone up a little bit. Rune, you're still in second, aren't you? So that is accurate. And Mark is still 205th. Dreams of the 105th for Mark. And our fantasy leader is still Gladiator 11. So very well done to you, Gladiator 11. Your team is doing a fine job, doing really well in our fantasy league. Long may that continue. So right, time for Rune's fantasy football focus. So before we go into your top 5 picks, Rune, do you want to tell us about a few of the teams that you may want to avoid this weekend and a few teams that you may want to stack in terms of your players?
Yes, of course. With regard to teams to invest in, Hoffenheim are a pretty obvious pick this week, playing against Fürth and based on their performance last week against Leipzig, they were really impressive there. So they're the most obvious team to invest in, I'd say. And then apart from them, in addition to like the obvious teams such as Bayern, then maybe Hertha could be an interesting, although risky, team to invest in. Their fixtures look quite good on paper, but obviously they haven't been that consistent this season. So, but nevertheless. Looking at the fixtures, they might be worth it. The same goes for Augsburg, actually. So maybe based on who you prefer, who you're backing to win this weekend, of those 2 sides that are coming up against each other, then pick the one you trust the most if you're looking for like a cheeky differential. With regard to teams to avoid, I probably wouldn't invest in Leverkusen this week since they're facing Leipzig away from home, and that looks like a quite difficult game for them. I probably wouldn't touch Wolfsburg or Dortmund either because they're not in great form. none of them at the moment, and it's kind of hard to predict how this weekend's game will go. So yeah.
All right, well, that means I definitely need to get rid of my top-heavy Leverkusen and Wolfsburg team then, although I've only got 3 transfers, of course, to make the most of. Okie doke. So let's move on to your top 5 fancy picks for this week or weekend coming. So Rune, kind of new section that we've introduced. So Rune will kind of pinpoint 5 kind of top players or differentials, potentially pick each week. So we will now drop it down in the banner below, and that will be going across. So Rune, just want to go through each one kind of one by one and just tell them, obviously tell everyone a little bit about why you might want to pick each and every one of those players.
Yes, of course. The first one is Marvin Svebe from FC Köln. And as you may have noticed, Timo Horn has been ruled out for the rest of the year, meaning that Svebe will be in goal until the winter break, and he costs just 1 million. So yeah, picking him could free up some funds elsewhere on the pitch. From until this point, Marius Funk from Fürth has been the only 1 million guy in goal, but now we have Svebe, and for the time being, we also have Josep Martinez from RB Leipzig and Pavel Pervan from Wolfsburg, due to the fact that Koen Castells and Peter Gulaschi are out with COVID-19.
Right.
But my pick is Svebe because we know that Timo Horn will be out for the rest of the year, while the other 2 will come back in a few weeks' time. So yeah, a cheap goalkeeper to start off with. My second pick is Kevin Akpoguma for Hoffenheim. Costs 5.8 million, and he was actually the highest scoring player last week of all players, despite not producing any assists or goals. He scored 25 points just from being involved and winning duels and taking shots. So that was quite impressive. And with Hoffenheim now facing Fürth, then he looks like a quite interesting pick in defense, and he's not even that expensive, so he's surely worth a shout.
He does get forward quite well, I think, on occasions. I've been very impressed by him when I've seen him live, actually.
Yes, especially since he's a natural central defender. It's quite funny that he's actually been doing quite well at the wing-back position. And on the other wing-back for Hoffenheim, we have David Raums, who could also be a nice pick, but unfortunately he's a midfielder in the game. That makes Akpoguma a bit more interesting, the fact that he's actually listed as a defender. Third pick is Vincenzo Griefel, who, he's Freiburg set-piece taker and attacking talisman. And despite the fact that they lost 2-0 to Frankfurt last week, he still managed to pick up 10 points. And looking at the last 3 match days, he's the second highest scoring midfielder, only behind Jonas Hofmann from Gladbach. So as I've talked about before, it's about finding those players who are involved in games and who picks up points even if their teams are losing or even if they don't score or assist. And that's what Griefel did last week, and that's what he often does. So he's quite fixture-proof, I'd say. Fourth pick is a bit of an obvious one, Jonathan Burkhardt. Last week, I suggested bringing in Onisivo as an alternative just for the differential potential, but with the form Burkhardt is in at the moment, he's one of the most informed strikers in the league. He's quite hard to overlook at the moment, and he plays on Friday evening against the Stuttgart side, who have been quite leaky in defense. Offers great flexibility because you can start him on Friday and then change the start if he doesn't live up to your expectations or you want to change it to someone else. So he's a great pick, especially for the price. And my final pick, I'm in a bit of a headache with my own team actually, because I have Burkhardt along with Müller and Lewandowski, and I really want Andrej Kramaric from Hoffenheim as well. But unfortunately, you can only pick 3 strikers, so it's all about whether to keep Burkhardt in my team or maybe swap him out for Kramaric, because I think he's one of the guys with the most potential this week, the Croatian international, coming up against Greuther Fürth, and he's been out injured, but he's back in training and he was rested last week. So with the high ceiling he has, he could be a real difference maker this week. So in case I choose not to bring him in, I'll I'll be quite concerned when that Hoffenheim game gets started.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for that, Rune. Some obviously very interesting players to look at. One thing that strikes me straight away is the percentages of the player picks. Is all of them are all below 5% at the moment. So that, you know, that just there obviously just screams that, you know, there's some really nice differential picks already to try and get into your team. Very good shout with regards to the keeper as well. That's obviously how well do you keep on top of it, and that's why you're doing so well, obviously. So I may well go for that and free up some funds for the rest of my team. So yeah, brilliant stuff. Thank you very much for that, Rune. That probably brings a close to our fantasy section. So obviously, if you are watching and you're part of our league, please, you know, get involved and let us know how you're getting on. You know, we've had a few leaders that we've mentioned and given a shout out to, get in touch with us. So that's brilliant. But, you know, even if you're not in first or in the top 50 or anywhere, just let us know, because at the end of the day, me and Mark are probably doing worse than you. So do let us know where you are in our league. Drop us a comment whilst we're live. And if you see us on Twitter, obviously, because we do go live on Twitter, just hop over to the YouTube channel, and then you can interact with us straight away, because it's a little bit hard to interact over Twitter. So yeah, do give us a watch on YouTube. So brings us to a nice close. So Mark, over to you to finish up.
Yeah, so if you enjoyed what you saw today, obviously check out our Twitter feed at Over the Bar FB and at Over the Bar Extra. Yeah, also remember to stay on as well. I was actually asked personally by Dave tonight to remind some of you guys that are watching now to stay on for the League 2 show, which will start in approximately 10 minutes, pretty much as soon as we finish. We'll probably be prepping as we speak now. So make sure you stay tuned for that, especially some of the you League 2 fans, because I know there are quite a few of you that watch our shows as well. Yeah, also remember to check out our otbfootball.net, which is kind of our centerpiece of our stuff. You can see also a lot of written articles on there as well. So yeah, always remember to check that out. And yeah, of course, do the usual like, comment, and subscribe. That helps us out a lot, and it allows us to free up more time to kind of produce more and more shows as well. So yeah, thanks a lot for joining us again, and we will see you again for the usual review and fantasy football and predictions next week.
Cheers all.
Bye-bye.